There it is on the air. For the next hour, Steve Russell and ESPN basketball analyst Mark Wise will hit the hard court as they look back on the week that was and look forward to the week that is in college basketball. Hoop, there it is, courtesy of Silverback Concrete, Titan MRI, and QC Kinetics. It's full court press time. Here are Steve and Mark.
Welcome to our final, can't believe I'm saying that because it just seemed like we started doing it yesterday, our final hoop, there it is, for this college basketball season. He is Mark Wise. I'm Steve Russell. Zach Rothrock is our producer today. Wow. I don't know if I've caught my breath yet.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Florida. Mark, what a game. What a season. We have so much to cover today, but just your overall thoughts on the game last night.
Well, first of all, basketball immortality as it relates to Florida winning. 30 years from now in the NCAA program at the Final Four, they always list the previous champions and the head coach and whatnot. So for Todd Golden in Florida to win it in the fashion that they won it last night, my first thought was Florida beat Houston playing Houston's game. The Cougars were able to control tempo. They got the physicality that they wanted. They got the extremely loose whistle in the first half that they wanted in terms of the way that they play. And we'll have more to say on that later. But I thought, I said maybe a month ago that I thought Florida, Duke, and Auburn were the three teams that could beat you in more different ways than any other that I'd seen all year. I'm not backing off of that. Florida won a game in a different way when Walter Clayton, for the most part, was taken away offensively as a scorer, not as a facilitator. He had 7 assists on the game. And so Florida had to do something that few people had done against Houston all year. They won the battle on the second chance points. It was only by 1 point, but if you do that to Houston, you negate one of the things that they do really well. Now, they got their number of offensive rebounds, but they didn't cash in on those. And then Florida's perimeter defense, not in the last play, but in the last 10 minutes of that game was spectacular.
I think that's the thing that maybe gets overlooked a little bit, Mark, because for a while there, Florida was scoring in the 90s. It was, exciting up and down. Well, I think good teams, great teams, find ways to win games 68-65 or whatever it is. And does Todd Golden and his staff get enough credit for the coaching job that they did?
No. And I'm going to say this in two different ways, both in player development, because you're talking about Houck and Condon being a better player from last year to this year. But then you're also talking about individual player development within the season. And I'm talking about Walter Clayton Jr., the fact that he learned to navigate during the course of the season, being the scoring guard versus the point guard. That's hard to do. And he was by far the best player in the tournament. And then I want to come back to this, the depth. And I want to say this about Todd Golden. His scheme won last night. He's a believer in 4 bigs and playing those 4 bigs interchangeably. He's, for the second straight year, he's had 4 bouncy bigs. So I think that. And then lastly, the in-game stuff last night. Florida in their ATOs, which is after timeouts, was superb. Remember that Clayton really had nothing going. They came out of a timeout and they ran the horn set where he does the banana cut. They hit him at the basket. He gets a 3-point play on the way. That was after a timeout. Mm-hmm. The only clean look Clayton got the entire game from the arc was after a timeout where they run that misdirection, what I call Davidson action, because there are 3 different players kind of doing 3 different things. And he finally popped open, wide open 3 late in the game. And that came after a timeout after the technical foul. So Florida had tied it. Florida had tied it. They got the technical foul on Chinyelu, and oddly enough, the big there, Roberts, missed one of his 2 free throws. They made the 2 technicals, and you thought, okay, Florida has lost their momentum because they had everything going their way. But the very next play out of the timeout was the Clayton 3, so immediately the game was tied again. And you kind of felt like Florida went on another emotional spark.
I'm glad you mentioned after the timeouts because I noticed that, Mark. Not every time, but more times than not, after timeouts, they scored.
Yeah, it's a 2-pronged attack. You have to have the scheme from the coaching staff. You have to have that kind of creativity, and then the players have to execute.
Yes.
And they did beautifully both of those last night.
Lots to navigate through. Don't forget, we're broadcasting from Coach's podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. You can watch us live on Facebook and YouTube later on an Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube Podcast, any of the nearly 40 platforms that you can subscribe so don't miss an episode. And like, follow, and subscribe. And we are taking questions and comments on Facebook Live, and we'll answer them. But in the meantime, we have lots to get to. As you can imagine, we have a bunch of questions, Mark, so we'll get to those.
I hope nobody asks about next year. If you ask me a question about next year, I'm just going to not answer it, period. Don't ask me about the players next year. Enjoy this one.
Okay, let's see. How many
Did I just eliminate all the questions?
Do I have? All right, let's do it here. Questions of the week brought to you by Davis Chevrolet, your premier North Central Florida dealer of Chevrolet. All right, here we go.
That made me laugh, brother. That was funny.
Jen in Gainesville. Gators beat 4 number 1 ranked teams, beat the number 1 seed in the tournament, beat back-to-back national champion UConn, and won the SEC tournament. Is this the best Gator team ever?
No. I mean, the back-to-back is such a – well, let me rephrase that. No, because the back-to-back title teams had 3 lottery picks. So I don't think – I mean, that Florida team was dominant in the NCAA tournament. This Florida team found ways to win. So to borrow a Lon Kruger find a way kind of thing, that when Florida went to their first Final Four, what was that, 94, I think? That team found a way. Well, this team was more talented than the 94 team by a long shot. But this was a much tougher tournament to win, in my opinion. I come back to the same formula I've always preached. You've got to have NBA talent, and I think we're going to see Walter Clayton Jr. get picked in the late first round, would be my guess, because his stock has skyrocketed. You've got to be in Ken Palm's top 40 offensive and defensive efficiency. And this is another champion. I think this is the 11th straight year that the champion of the NCAA tournament was in the top 20 of Ken Palm's offensive and defensive efficiency, but their offense was better than their defense. Houston is built the other way. They were the only Final Four team whose offense wasn't quite as good as their defense. Their defense is number 1, but their offense was 10th. We haven't had a champion backwards like that since, I think, UConn. So that continues. You got to be healthy. So they got Condon healthy. They got Handlogden back, before the trade deadline, if you want to think of it in those terms. And Handlogden had an undervalued spark to the team last time. He had a couple of assists as a 7-footer. Yeah. And then lastly, you got to catch a break along the way. And I can give you the moments that happened for both the 06 and 07 team. It certainly happened in the Texas Tech game.
Phil in Gainesville, Houston was unbeaten when holding opponents under 70. Gators got 65, unable to secure a win. Was Coach Sampson's game plan not enough to overcome the Gators' resilience and destiny? Well,
this is the bad part. What I call the beauty and the curse of the NCAA tournament. It's a one-possession game. If it hadn't gone that way and it had gone the Houston game, that question wouldn't be asked. It would be asked about Todd Golden.
Right.
So we make way too much of the outcome and not enough of evaluating the performance. Houston's performance in the NCAA tournament, they were 5-1. They beat Duke, the team everybody thought was the best team in the country.
Peter in Gainesville, Florida beat Houston by 2, despite Houston's defense. how does Golden keep his team calm and focused?
Well, he gets a lot of credit and should get a lot of credit because it's a resilient group, and you would have to think that is a collaborative effort between the coaching staff and the players. I mean, I don't know of a team that is resilient that doesn't have that marriage. I don't know of a team resilient, the coaches are resilient, but the players aren't. And I don't know of one where the players are and the coaches aren't.
Right.
So you've got to have both factors, and that doesn't always happen. That's a rarity.
Mary in Gainesville, Florida, now the only school to win 3 natties in both football and basketball. Will this help us recruit future talent?
No. I mean, future talent is about one thing and one thing only right now, and that's money.
Yep. Which is
sad, but
true.
But I'm for the player. Don't get me wrong, people. I'm for the players getting money. I don't think the portal's been managed the way it should be. I'm not a believer in multiple transfers. If you want to transfer as a second time as a grad student, I'm okay with that. But the players that are going 3 schools in 3 years, no, come on, we got to do something there.
John in New Smyrna, Gators had the lead for only 63 seconds, held
Yes.
Houston to 63 points. How good of a job did both coaches do?
I mean, I've said this. I think if you took those 4 teams and put them in the Final Four and you played 4 different weekends, you could very easily have 4 different winners. That's how good this Final Four was.
Thomas in Gainesville, Golden, the youngest coach to win a championship since the tournament expanded to 68. Valvano, I think, was the...
Yeah, he was the youngest.
Yeah, Billy was the youngest in the 64 team bracket. Should the university increase his salary significantly to keep him in Gainesville for a long time?
I don't know what will happen with Todd Golden's contract. I'm not privy to such things, but I promise you he's going to make more money.
Yes.
And the contract will get extended.
And I will,
and it should.
Yeah.
In this day and age of market value, it should.
And I will say this, I'm not defending him, but I think we all heard the fire Scott Strickland stuff, right? His hire.
Yeah,
this
right.
guy, right? I think that's a pretty good hire.
Yeah.
Robbie in Tallahassee, the national media miss on the Gators. Seems the Love Fest only began in the last couple of weeks or so. Gators didn't lose a game in March and April.
It didn't happen, no. The national media did not miss on Florida. I will say that the win at Auburn in early February is when the momentum for Florida, that's the genesis of the momentum for Florida. Florida got plenty of national attention, plenty of picks, title picks, if you will, starting then.
Mark in Gainesville, good question here. Kelvin Sampson's won almost 800 games. Houston in their 7th Final Four, 3rd championship game, but no titles. At 69 years of age, what will Coach Sampson's legacy be?
Well, those things aren't really tied together in terms of the Final Four because he had nothing to do with
the other ones.
Previous Final
Right.
Fours. 799 games, it makes me tired because I know how many practices that means, okay? How many game days, how many bad meals on the road that requires. His legacy will be a Hall of Fame coach. I don't think there's any question about that. I've said this several times. One of the 3 best resurrection jobs in my lifetime. Scott Drew at Baylor, Kelvin Sampson at Houston, Bruce Pearl at Auburn.
And, I'm going to say this too. I think if he never wins a national title, there's going to be that little asterisk there.
Yeah, unfair.
Because it doesn't take away. It's so hard to even get there. He's done it so well. Now, did he screw up? Yes, but your word, resurrection.
Yeah, he's been to 2 Final Fours from a program that you would have had to seen the shape Houston was in when he took over, from facilities to support to fan base to commitment. Now, the good thing is Houston gave him a chance to resurrect his own coaching career, and he's talked about that, much like what Auburn gave Bruce Pearl, and he's talked about that. So these guys can flat coach. Now, you don't need to win a national title to be a great coach, period.
That's my point, yes. I know the answer to this one, but I'll say it anyway, Ciara in Tallahassee. Gators came back once again, this time with their 3rd largest deficit ever in a championship game Is this a coaching strategy?
Yes. Get behind so that the other team has hope. Then you take it away and win at the end. No, of course not. No. It's the way the games have played. I will say this. I do think there have been some games in the NCAA tournament where Florida had to find a second gear. I thought they started the game in the second gear. I thought physical, from a physical standpoint, I thought Florida matched Houston early on. But I did think Houston was getting their shots a lot easier than Florida were getting those. Now, theirs, but that's a credit to Houston's defense.
Mm-hmm. Steve in Gainesville, Will Richard led the comeback catalyst that helped the comeback, scoring 14 in the first half. How impressive is that a different player is always ready to step up?
I've said all along, I think he's played the best basketball of his career. I think going through the NBA process really helped him. He's become a more complete player on both ends of the floor. Not a great ball handler, doesn't do a lot off the bounce. I get it. But at the next level in a catch-and-shoot league, if you can defend your position, I think he will get a look. I'm sure he will be on a summer league team this summer.
Will in Cedar Key, considering the very poor performance in the first half, how fortunate were the Gators to be only down 3 at the half?
Again, I'm going to come back to this. Yes, Florida wasn't very good in the first half. I thought Houston had a lot to do with that. They controlled tempo. They controlled who was shooting what shots. Their game plan was obvious to not let Clayton beat them, and that was very significant. So, again, I get the perception that you only want to talk about your team, but you have to credit the other team. And I don't think I know this. Fans they lose sight of that.
Brandon and Hawthorne, what was the most important play of the game?
The Clayton 3 that tied the game back up right after the technicals. I think I've got that order correct. I don't remember exactly the score. I want to say it was 51 all or 61 all, whatever it was. But when the technical occurred and Houston went to the free throw line for 4 free throws, made 3 of 4, it kind of you could see the dejection on the players, and I'm talking about Florida's players' faces, and the disgust with Chinyelu. And I know he would like to have that moment back. You can't do that there in that situation. But to recapture the momentum in the very next play, I thought was huge.
Yeah, and the cliche, pick each other up.
Yeah, well
guess what? That they picked him up.
Yeah, I mean, I think they wanted to take him out.
Yes, and put
to
the woodshed.
Yes,
for a while, but they did pick him up. Austin in Gainesville, UConn has now won 18 combined national championships in men's and women's basketball in the last 30 years. Why don't they get the attention this dynasty's created?
I don't know of anybody who doesn't mention women's basketball without mentioning UConn, and I don't know of anybody who talks about men's basketball without mentioning UConn. So I think they get plenty. And, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, so we'll leave it at that.
I'll try this. They're not in a power conference.
Well, they are in basketball now.
Well, yeah, in basketball.
Correct.
But you can't take away what, and it's not a, it isn't like a Florida or a marquee university in other sports,
right?
But
in football, they don't get a lot of run in football. We get that,
and maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe that's the
Fred, I think you answered this in Gainesville. Did Clayton increase his draft status the last 2 months?
I don't think there's any question. I think he went from a late second-round pick to a late first-round pick. I think there's when you pick late in the first round, that means you've had a successful season in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you like to have a Walter Clayton as maybe the third guard or the fourth guard coming off the bench? I think there'll be a role for him.
Hillary in St. Augustine, 11 players that played last night with the high school in Florida, 8 Florida, 3 Houston. Is the recruiting future for the Gators in our fertile state?
No. The only time people care about where your players come from is when you lose. I think it's more coincidence. I mean, you can't talk about Elijah I don't. Is Martin from Florida? I don't think he is. So I don't. I think it's coincidence more than anything else.
Otis in Gainesville. Cougars came back.
I'm sorry, Clayton. Clayton is the Florida native, but he went to Iona. So I don't know that you can call him your recruit, can you? I mean, I get it.
He's the second time.
Yeah.
Otis in Gainesville. Cougars came back against Duke. Gators came back against Auburn. Now the Gators came back against Houston. Is this the best Final Four of all time?
Wow, you could make the argument for that. The games were spectacular. The drama was high. The theater was sensational. When the lights were the brightest. So yeah, I'm going to put it right up there.
All right.
And maybe not just an individual game, but as a collective 3-game package, probably as good as we've ever had.
All right. Those are our questions of the week, brought to you by Davis Chevrolet, your premier North Central Florida dealer of Chevrolet. Now, let's do our play of the week, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. When you need a quality plumber, rely on the same company Gainesville's trusted since 1984. Quality Plumbing, their name says it all.
Well, we did on our preview show Sunday, so I'm going to repeat this. If I told you it was Elijah Martin's dunk, your response should be, well, which one? Okay, because the first one that he did in the semifinal win over Auburn, when he took off, I thought, man, he's too far out. And when I saw the replay, I mean, he's maybe a foot and a half inside the free throw line when he takes off, and he just like had Inspector Gadget arms. It just kept reaching, and then, the flush, but the one with the two defenders on him, I think that picture should be that picture should be all over the city of Gainesville from now on, because it was just a sensational play at the moment.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Much more hoop. There it is to come. Stay with us.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, opening Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Mick Huber. During my 33 years as voice of the Gators, I called championship games for football, basketball, and baseball. And at the same time, Quality Plumbing became champions for residents and businesses of Gainesville.
I'm Sean Kelly, and now I'm the voice of the Gators as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. And for years to come, I'll be calling the games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
CFC 043073.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for Core Power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans, let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee,
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Mi Apa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Mi Apa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
Welcome back. Just to remind you about Silverback Concrete. They build firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. Silverback Concrete. Couple of comments here. Tommy says, "Go Gators, blue blood in basketball." Oh, here we go.
Well, they're the right color.
Yeah.
So they fit the mode. Yeah. What is it? 3 titles, 5 Final Fours in this century, I guess, so far, because the 2000 team making the Final Four. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. You're in the conversation. There's no question about it.
Greg says, "Enjoyed the journey. I'm still amazed at that ending last night. Go Gators."
Yeah, again, this has been one of my, I guess, mantras over the years, is that everybody wants to put yourself in the NCAA tournament in November, and it doesn't work that way. And next year, do you know where Florida starts? They start 0-0.
That's right.
So you have to go back to the bottom of the basement and work your way back up. But that's why I said you should enjoy the journey. You should enjoy the journey, not because this team won the NCAA title, but because this team was this team.
Yeah. He's coached. I've only done it at the high school level, but I don't care if you're coaching middle school kids. To see what you start, how you start, where you end up, what that journey is like, how you watch your team grow, how you watch your team get better, is you don't really think of it during the course of the year, but man, at the end, when you reflect and you sit back, and it's kind of a cool thing.
And you have to remember this. I've talked about this for years. For 67 of the 68 teams in the NCAA tournament, the end is abrupt. Now, in the NBA, it's not that way. You either kind of there are only 3 or 4 teams that are playing for positions right now, okay?
Right.
You're either in the playoffs or you're not. Everybody else knows that you're in, and you kind of wind the season down. College basketball doesn't end that way. You build, and when it's done, the drop-off emotionally is a free fall. If Sharp goes ahead and makes that shot at the end and Houston wins, imagine how you feel as a Florida fan. Well, that's how Houston fans feel today. That's how Texas Tech fans felt last weekend. That's how Duke fans. The ending is so sudden, especially in a one-possession game like that.
Coach of the Week, brought to you by International Diamond Center. Don't settle for a knockoff diamond when you can get the best diamonds at the best prices for quality, selection, and value. International Diamond Center, the official jeweler of the Florida Gators.
Again, I'm going to come back to the beauty and the curse of the NCAA tournament, but for now, and from now on, Todd Golden will always be known as a national championship coach. He joins the ranks of another Florida head coach by the name of Billy Donovan, who just got announced that he's going into the Hoop Hall College Basketball Hall of Fame. He was actually at Saturday's game because first of all, I guess the Bulls didn't play. But secondly, they do that at the national semifinal, the incoming class. And I don't have that in front of me. I know it involves Carmelo
Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony.
Yep. Yeah. So prestigious that those two guys, Todd Golden and Billy Donovan, now have the same moniker.
They do. Team of the Week, brought to you by Ruse Ogra, State Farm Insurance. And you go to State Farm agent Ruse Ogra for your insurance needs in North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want.
Yeah, to my knowledge, there are only 4 teams that are in a postseason tournament that actually end their season with a win. So for Florida winning the NCAA, and I'm not talking about non-Division I, so don't anybody scream at me about Division II, III. They also get their accolades. But for Florida to win the NCAA tournament, for Chattanooga to win the NIT, first NIT title for the SoCon Conference, it's a big deal. I mean, I did 2 of the games in the NIT. I'm telling you, for these mid-major programs, it is a huge deal. I did the Kent State at Loyola Chicago game. Rob Centeroff is the head coach at Kent State. He talked about how important, he used that word maybe 10 times in our discussion, how important it was to Kent State, how important it was to the community, the campus, and the conference. So to Chattanooga, congratulations. Nebraska won the inaugural college basketball crown. That's the new one that Fox created that was in Vegas. And then Illinois State won the CBI. So for those four teams, they're my team of the week.
Also want to thank Campus USA Credit Union for sponsoring our live comments that we're getting, and from Tommy and Greg and others. So I want to thank Campus USA Credit Union for that. We'll take a break, come back. Much more to come on Hoop. There it is.
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
At Davis Gainesville Chevy, everything's on sale. For a limited time, brand new 4-wheel drive crew cab Silverados, just $449 a month. That's new Silverados, only $449 a month. New Tahoes, Equinox, Blazers, and Trax, under $20,000. With hundreds of used trucks and SUVs, under $18,000. Give us a call or visit us online at DavisGainesvilleChevrolet.com. We're here for you.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. Start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com. I had a turnover. Turnover by me.
Yeah, been a long year. Welcome back to our show here. Time for the sub of the week, brought to you by Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover 11 delicious Cuban sandwiches at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami.
I hate to keep repeating myself because I like to look around and delve into some of these awards that we give every week. But I cannot do better than Thomas Houck. In the championship game last night, he was the best plus-minus for either team at plus 13. Elijah Martin was plus 10. But to have that guy come off the bench, and for any coach, I said this on our show Sunday, for any coach to look down that bench and go, hey, go get me 12 and 8. Thomas Houck, the best sixth man in the NCAA tournament by far.
All right. Games to look for. Yeah, we got those.
Oh, yeah.
Brought to you by Florida Victorious. Game-changing plays, life-changing impact. Florida Victorious, proud partner of the Florida Gators on and off the court.
Well, did you know that the NBA season actually ends this coming Sunday? That's April 13th. And the play-ins start next Tuesday, April 15th. Billy Donovan, we mentioned him earlier. His Chicago Bulls are in the running for that play-in. I think they're battling for the 8th, 9th, 10th spot because in the NBA, 6 teams in each conference get a bye, and then 7 plays 10, 8 plays 9, and those are considered the play-in games. As a hoop junkie, I'll start watching I shouldn't say that. I can watch the NBA on any night. I just don't have a lot of time.
Right.
Well, now I have time. So I'm going to start watching the NBA for the rest of the regular season, and the playoffs start next Tuesday.
Baller of the Week brought to you by Crystal Air and Water. Family-owned and operated Crystal Air and Water services air conditioners, furnaces, boilers, and more for Gainesville, Alachua, nearby areas. We're not comfortable until you are comfortable with Baller of the Week.
The best player in the NCAA tournament through all 67 games, Walter Clayton Jr. I don't think it's close.
Okay. I don't either. We will take a break, come back. We still have lots to do. If you want to do a live comment with us, we'll take that as well as you listen to and watch Hoop. There it is.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, opening Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Mick Huber. During my 33 years as voice of the Gators, I called championship games for football, basketball, and baseball. And at the same time, Quality Plumbing became champions for residents and businesses of Gainesville.
I'm Sean Kelly, and now I'm the voice of the Gators as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. And for years to come, I'll be calling the games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
CFC 043073.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for core power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
At Davis Gainesville Chevy, everything's on sale. For a limited time, brand new 4-wheel drive crew cab Silverados, just $449 a month. That's new Silverados, only $449 a month. New Tahoes, Equinox, Blazers, and Trax, under $20,000. With hundreds of used trucks and SUVs, under $18,000. Give us a call or visit us online at DavisGainesvilleChevrolet.com. We're here for you.
Over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
All right, let's do our women's basketball check-in, brought to you by Meldon Law. With 50 years of experience, the only accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators, Meldon Law, won't back down. Mark, there was a time when I was doing the women's games for Florida that you maybe had a small handful of teams, UConn included, that you would look and say, okay, they have a chance to win the national title. It's so fun to see how far the women's game has come. Better coaching, better players. NIL has certainly helped that. But Gino's what, 71 years old?
71.
They call him Grandpa, and he still wins, and he's still relevant. Dawn Staley's done a great job at South Carolina. Your thoughts on the women's game?
Well, first of all, I still think there's a small group of teams that can win it all on the women's side.
Smaller,
now that group has grown,
right?
But instead of 5, maybe it's 10 now. Mm-hmm. Okay, UCLA goes to their first Final Four this year.
Yep.
I thought it was. We talked about this on our show on Sunday. I thought UConn had too much offense. I thought they had too much offensive diversity. That played out, and so for them to go on the road at Carolina, 6 weeks ago, and win by 30 or whatever the final score was, and then to do it again in the national championship game, I feel good for a player like Paige Beckers, who went through 2 seasons of losing eligibility because of injuries. And so for her to overcome that, I get it. It's UConn. It's Gino. They're always good. They're always there. I get all that. But for her individual journey, I felt really good about that.
Another thing in sports that's always amused me is if you're not in Storrs, Connecticut, right? It's the UConn, it's Gino. But if it's your school,
oh yeah,
right?
Oh yeah,
you're doing all that.
Yeah.
And look, you have to give credit where it's due. I mean, he's recruited them, he's coached them. I mean, like him, don't like him. Florida played there one year. I got to go to Storrs and see the place, and Florida got whacked.
Right.
But look, you got to give it a lot of credit, and as you said, Dawn Staley too.
Well, she goes in that resurrection conversation.
Yes.
Because what was South Carolina women's basketball before Dawn Staley?
Right.
I don't think any of us remember that.
No. Top 4 teams brought to you by Fairlife Core Power. Discover Core Power protein shakes by Fairlife. Explore our 26G and 42G high protein drinks, perfect for workout recovery and nutrition.
So I thought about this morning, if I were an AP voter ranking, and I'm going to do the top 5.
Okay.
So if I were an AP voter, there are 2 things that come into play. What you did in the NCAA tournament versus your body of work. So I'm going to throw those 2 together. I don't necessarily think that the 4 teams in the Final Four should be ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how, the games, the outcome of the games.
Yep.
So I've got Florida 1 because I obviously they're in that mix. And but I've got Duke number 2. I think they're the second best team in the country. They just didn't win, didn't close out the game against Houston. I've got Houston 3. I've got Auburn number 4, and I've got Alabama number 5.
Okay.
So another validation for how historically good the SEC was this season. I've got, of my top 5, I've got 3 from the SEC, and deservedly so.
Don't forget, I want to tell you one last time, we're broadcasting from Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. You can watch us, as many of you are, on Facebook and YouTube. Listen later whenever you want. Apple Podcast, YouTube Podcast, Spotify, almost 40 platforms where you can find your favorite podcast. And we appreciate you liking and subscribing. And we appreciate all year long, all your questions, all your comments. It's always a blast to do this, especially with that guy. And it makes it special to do with Mark Wise. So we thank you, though, for taking time to watch, listen, however you are doing that.
And right back at you. And for the production team that
Yep.
Has made all of this possible, a huge thank you, but a huge thanks to the fans.
We're going to take our final break. We're going to come back, and then we're going to talk officiating and what Mark's idea of how that's got to get better to help the college game. Stay with us.
Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans, let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. Start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. Silverback Concrete. And by the way, I want to thank all of our sponsors who've been with us for Hoop There It Is all year long, and we appreciate you being with us. Campus USA sponsoring all of the info that we got from your live, Facebook Live and YouTube. Tommy says, horrible refs in almost every game I watched in the tournament on both sides, but got to play through it. What a segue, right?
Yes.
What a segue.
Wow, who was? Thanks, Tommy,
Yeah.
very much.
I mean, here's the platter. Here it is, right?
Swing batter.
All right. We have had so many discussions off camera off, mic, whatever, about officiating and the state of where it is. So I'm going to let Mark here have the floor because there are some things that have got to happen. But Mark, it's all you.
Well, as you well know, I was raised an official's son. So I get it more than most in terms of what these guys and ladies go through. And I understand how difficult a job it is. So with all of that being said, we have a major, and I'm talking about a major officiating problem. And it's the way the game is being called. And the game is so physical. And when we talk about, and when you talk about Houston, for instance, or you talk about Tennessee, you talk about how physical they are. Well, that's just code for they foul a lot, and it's not called. And I'm not blaming the coaches for that, because until the game changes the way it's officiated, coaches are going to continue to teach fouling. Now, what do I mean by that? If you go set a screen and you blow up the screen, that's a foul. On free throws, with the exception of the Cooper flag barely over the back, I don't even know how to begin that. All I'm saying is our game is way too physical and we don't have enough fouls. To have a national championship game, have 4 fouls in the first half combined by the two teams, whether you're talking about the way the game was officiated on Saturday in the Florida-Auburn game. Some examples from last night, the goaltending on Hanlogden that was not called. Now, they've been calling that all season long, regardless of whether or not they really thought it was goaltending or not, or basket interference on the offensive end or not, because they know they can go to the review and see
right
for themselves. That wasn't called. The technical foul, I don't know what was kind of communication or warning was given, but it was, if you're on one end of the floor and you're giving a technical to the other bench, they've got to do something egregious. I certainly didn't see anything egregious. The hook and hold, and I don't know what Gene Steratore was looking at, but the hook and hold that happened in the game last night, just because you're not clamped up here on your armpit, but there's no question that was a classic hook and hold. And they went to the review, and I'm like, I mean, he's got him hooked. It's just out here more on the wrist, and he's holding him. That's a hook and hold. So we have an officiating problem. Here is the roadblock to more whistles. Coaches don't want it. Coaches would rather complain about the officiating. Coaches would rather teach fouling than have more fouls. So unless the only way to have less physicality in our game is to punish those who do commit fouls. And I don't mean punish in a...
Call fouls.
Call fouls. Until our game gets more whistles. And the NCAA, and again, I come back to this. I get how this works because I'm an official's son. They talk about getting 93% of the whistles correct or 94% of the whistles correct. I have no issue with that. It's the non-whistles that get them in trouble. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about all summer long on any platform that I have the ability to do so, we must change the way our game is officiated. I've said this for the last 3 or 4 years, you're my witness, that our game has never been better. It's played at such a high level. The coaching has never been better than it is right now. Our product has never been better, and our game has never been governed, NCAA and officiating, worse than what it is right now. So that's kind of my rant, that these things have to change if you want a cleaner game. If you don't, if you just want to wonder about what's going on from officiating perspective from one half to the other, or the inconsistency with calls, I just think we're in a place where we need to clean up our game, and the only way you do that is by blowing the whistle, calling more fouls.
Part of the thing that you said, though, Mark, that bothers me is that coaches don't want the change.
Yeah, they don't. They would much rather complain.
Yeah. And I get tired of that too. Okay? I understand why they're doing it. I understand they're trying to work the official. I get that. But don't you want a better game? Don't you want, if you're a coach, don't you want a better game? Do fans really want to see somebody whack a guy in the middle? I don't know.
Well, it's like there are a couple of thoughts there. One is the Condon foul where the Houston player was coming down and Condon dislodged him. I thought it was a great call, okay? But the other 29 times that they're doing that to each other, it's not called, okay? Yeah. And then I want to give one more example of how we have gotten to where we are. There is a mandate. They want more communication. The NCAA wants more communication between coaches and officials. In game, they want more communication. So if you call a foul and you report to the official scores table, it used to be you went away from the benches for your next officiating position. In other words, get away from the coach.
Right.
Okay? Well, now they made the change 2 years ago where you actually go to the bench and give the coach a chance to get in your ear. That makes zero sense to me. That's not fair to the officials.
No, it's not.
In other words, you tell your coaches, shut up. Yeah. And the other part of that is the NBA, they don't deal with that. They just don't. And so coaches are allowed to get away with way more in the college game than they are in the pro game. College players are allowed to get away with way more physicality than the NBA. That needs to get cleaned up. That's my rant. And I hate to end on such a negative. The season was fabulous. The fact that Florida wins the national title, we're going to see this all over the city of Gainesville, which is wonderful. Congratulations to Todd Golden. Congratulations to the team because they had to overcome some things during the season. The Condon injury, I thought could derail this team, and it really didn't. The Elijah Martin impact, I don't think can be understated enough. And then lastly, Walter Clayton Jr., man. If I do think most years, if you want to win an NBA title, a college football title, you need to have the best player going. And for Florida in the NCAA tournament, they had the best player going.
No question. Great way to end the year. Great way to end our hoop. There it is for this year. We thank you for joining us all year long. You know what?
And putting up with my rants.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before you know it.
Yeah, we'll be back at it.
We'll be back at it, right? It goes by pretty quick. Thanks to Zach Rothrock for producing today and for producing all year. Thanks to all of you for listening, watching as well. For Mark Wise, I'm Steve Russell. That's the bow on basketball. Later today, just a quick reminder, at 11:30, we're going to do an on-deck show to talk Gator baseball and softball, and then sports team will come your way at noon. See you later.
We thank you for listening to Hoop There It Is with Steve Russell and ESPN's Mark Wise. Hoop There It Is, a service of Silverback Concrete, Titan MRI, and QC Kinetics. It's available for you via podcast at WRUF.com and on the WRUF radio app. Hoop There It Is.